Hey, what's going on everyone? Vega here for SerpentX Tech, coming at you with another Bitaxe video. And as you can see here, this Bitaxe is running extremely warm, almost at the thermal limits where it will shut down. We just saw 73.4. And while it's the peak heat here in Florida, these two Bitaxes, while they have the same tower cooler, they're both 52 pi tower coolers, there's differences. We can clearly see that. This one is exposed aluminum and copper heat pipe that touches the die directly. And this one is painted black, and that's one of my concerns when we did our cooling mod video, is that the black coating on this will affect thermals, and it certainly is, and some of you even commented that it is. And thank you so much for adding to the videos. Please make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. But you can see this thing is running really warm, so I'm going to do two things in this video. One, I want to see what happens when we sand the cold plate, which is the flat side that the copper heat pipe goes through and touches the die. I want to sand it down, expose that copper heat pipe, make it as flat as I possibly can, replace the thermal paste, and see what kind of thermal improvement we can get. But at the same time, we got this OG Cooler Master Hyper 212 CPU cooler here. So why don't we see, with gravity, maybe some zip ties, and this Bitaxe laying flat on this mod mat, what the thermals improve to. We already know this thing is running around 73.4, 73.5. What does it do with the Cooler Master heatsink? And then what does it do if we sand down the cold plate on this this mod right here, this 52 pi tower cooler? What does that improve to? Now, normally what I would recommend for anybody modding their Bitaxe is just go with a downdraft cooler, because the downdraft cooler is going to have the fan at the top blowing into the Bitaxe, cooling the chip, but also dispersing some air on the PCB and some of the copper heat sinks that you might, or that I would recommend adding, you know, for the voltage regulator and certain components that we talked about in the previous video. Just go downdraft, save yourself the time. The tower cooler will improve thermals over the stock heatsink, but I just recommend a downdraft cooler instead of this one. Especially don't get the black one, because that coating, as I just said, is impacting our thermals. So let me get started sanding this down, adding this cooler to it first, and then we'll test with this cooler sanded down afterwards and just see the before and after results. I'm just going to move on to kind of playing around with this cold plate, because the way this PCB is designed, the heat pipes, as you can see, is hitting the boot and reset button. And so it's not booting up because there's being pressure. No matter how I move it or adjust it, the heat pipes are always going to hit. If you look very carefully, the heat pipes will either hit the ESP32 chip or the heatsink up top, or it will hit the fan controller or fan 4-pin PWM and a smaller one. So if you designed your own PCB, maybe this would work, but in this particular case, it's not, at least on this Bitaxe. Like, they're really close. Those two buttons are really close to each other, while the one from Crypto Miner Bros, or excuse me, yeah, Crypto Miner Bros, is a little bit more spaced out. So if anything, we might hit the boot button or a little bit close to it with the heat pipes, but on this one it's just putting pressure on it, so it's just not booting up. So just gonna move on. I saw when I booted up temperatures in 34, 35 degrees Celsius, but again, it's not, that was a lucky moment, because as soon as I plug it in, it's just not gonna boot up, and you can actually hear it kind of beeping and letting you know that something's not happy. So just gonna move on, cut this crap off, and go ahead and sand down that cold plate. So sorry to disappoint you, but we've seen people do this before with a heatsink like this on that Bitaxe. Matter of fact, I have another older Cooler Master heatsink. Maybe we could try that, because the heat pipes won't conflict with the buttons or heatsinks. A few minutes later, we sanded off the cold plate as smooth as you possibly can. Definitely not machine grade flat, but it's flat, it's smooth, and that's what the thermal paste is there for, to try to make a good interface between the cold plate and the die. Already got some Duro knot on there, so let me go ahead and install this with the hardware and see what the thermal improvement is. And at least we got one test done, because, well, that didn't work. Holy crap, we're at 54.9, 55.2, when it's the same clock, same settings, and all I did was sand down the black coating on the heatsink. We're climbing up 55, 56 degrees Celsius, still around only 1 terahash, but it's the same clocks and the same configuration. So this is 67, but it's doing about 1.3, 1.4 terahash in a 24-hour time frame. This has been bouncing between 1 terahash, we just hit it just now, and 1.1 terahash, but it's been consistently in the high, 69, 70, 71. I think at night it would hit 67.5, which is not bad, but during the middle of the day when it's hot, the AC is not running as much. Ambient temperatures around 78 degrees Fahrenheit. It was hitting what you saw before at the beginning of the video, 73, 72.9. So that's a dramatic improvement. Let me switch over to the computer and let's see if we can't push this thing a little bit harder so it can match its twin. But yeah, don't get the black 52 pi tower cooler and just get a downdraft cooler instead. But yeah, pure copper, pure aluminum is the go-to no matter what, whether it's your GPUs, CPUs, or even your bit axes. It's common knowledge and logic. I just wanted to try something different and have something cool, black design. Heatsink looks pretty cool, but yeah, for it to be on the actual cold plate, I didn't expect that. Either way, let's see what we can push it to on the computer. Yeah, so this is a decent improvement. We actually gained 25 megahertz on the clocks. We dropped our voltage, and our chip temperature sitting around 55 degrees Celsius and regulator sitting at 58. So now I'm going to go ahead and throw up the Bitaxe benchmark, which I use via Retromike's Docker image, right? Using WSL, Windows Subsystem Linux, and Docker Desktop. And I can just plug in the information I need. So the IP address of this machine is 197. And just set the clock and voltage. V for voltage, clock or frequency is set with F, and I'm going to see where it actually settles. But I can't believe the improvement just by sanding down the cold plate and giving it a better contact patch with no painted on material whatsoever on the cold plate. It's pretty cool. So after running a benchmark, we're averaging about 1.44 terahash. Hitting peaks of almost 1.8, 1.85 terahash was the highest I saw, but averaging around 1.5, 1.45, somewhere in that range. But still, our ASIC chip temperature high of 64.5 and the voltage regulator of 74, which is still well within range. We have some voltage regulators that are much higher than that, like 78 on this one. And it's only doing 1.3, right? This is the one with the copper and aluminum heat sink. But now we made this painted black 52 pi tower definitely improve its cooling capabilities. Something to note here, when you push your Bitaxe too hard, you see how it says right now input voltage of 5 volts. If that drops to 4.9, 4.8, you're going to start having some issues. So be careful. It depends on your power supply, but just be careful. If your power supply can't deliver 5 volt or above and you start getting down into the 4s, you could be running into some issues. That's why the benchmark looks at that with the input voltage, the core temps, the voltage regulator temps, so on and so forth. It factors all those variables in, but really cool tool to use. But I'm just impressed with the improvement we made. I wonder if we should just take the sander to the copper and aluminum one to see if we can't flatten out that heatsink or that cold plate surface a little bit more to improve thermals on this one. If you see right now it's at 66.5 while the black one is at 64.4, so maybe just a minor leveling will improve it, but still a remarkable improvement overall. So if you are going to buy the black one, be prepared to sand it down. But I would just recommend a downdraft cooler and avoid all of this, is the summary. So I'm pretty impressed. It's probably just a mating surface. Even though it might be the black paint that caused this one to run so poorly compared to its counterpart, I believe a sufficient or sufficiently flat and as smooth as possible mating surface would be the key. So I bet you if we did sand the bottom of this cold plate on this one, we would save maybe 1 to 1.5 degrees. I'm sure when it warms up to the full peak heat once again, that this thing is going to be in the higher 60s along with its brother. but it won't be the 73.5, the 72.6 average that we've been seeing during the peak heat of the day. So either way, the summary and the point of the video, as the title suggests, don't buy the black 52 pi tower cooler. Just go downdraft cooler. Copper is better. Aluminum copper is better. But if you did get the black one, or maybe in the next video we'll see what sanding the cold plate on this one actually does. But a sufficient surface area will improve your thermals overall. I just love tinkering with these things, doing little thises and that's. I got more heat sinks ordered. I'm probably going to fill up a couple areas like the Bitaxe logo, put another heat sink on the back, maybe open up the back side of the case so that way I can put one on the inductor. All little mods that Sterling and a lot of my other colleagues in the crypto mining space showed you how to optimize the cooling solution for your Bitaxes. Make sure to go show them some love. Thank you so much for stopping by, and do me a favor on the way out. Hit that like button, get subscribed, hit notification bell to stay up to date, as well as check out additional links in the description that will support the channel and what we do here, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. 66.6, not bad. And this one's at 69, about to hit 70, even at cooler environmental temperatures during the evening here. So we'll still hit about 70.5 during the peak heat of the day. But yeah, take with that what you will. Good luck.